What do you do when you're pretty sure your own mom hates you? We'll get into that in a bit, but first, entitled mother thinks her son can freely block the mini-golf to others because he's little. Hey everyone, first time posting here as I just had my first entitled parent experience. A few weeks ago, me and my girlfriend, both in our mid-20s, went to a hotel for vacation. The hotel had a mini-golf located within its grounds, and the mini-golf area was freely accessible to all guests. However, in order to get the clubs and balls, you had to pay a small extra charge. Me and my girlfriend decided we should try it out, so I rented out the equipment from the lobby and went to play. As we were progressing through the holes, we noticed that there was a mother with her son, about 4 to 5 years old maybe, at the mini-golf area with a little kid playing with his toy car on some of the golf fields. We didn't mind at first because he was playing away from the holes where we were, but after a while, we noticed the kid was sort of following us, always playing on the previous hole we just cleared. His mom was just sitting on a bench nearby, occasionally looking up from her phone to check on him. This lasted for a few holes until at one point, the kid went ahead of us and started playing at the hole that we just got to. We waited a little, hoping that he'd just go away, but even after a few minutes, he continued to play there. I called out to his mom, politely asking if they could tell their kid to let us play here. She replied, "But he's just a little boy. Do you have kids?" I told her, "No, we don't." "Then you'll understand my situation when you have a kid." And she kept talking on and on about how he's just a little boy and I should understand her situation. I told her that's okay, but we'd still like to play here and her son is blocking us. She finally stood up and grabbed her kid, but as she was taking him away, she still kept repeating that he's just a little boy. I know this is a short one and not as outrageous as many of the other stories here, but is it such a hard thing to tell your kid to not bother others? Thanks for reading. See, the problem is, OP would grow up, probably have kids of their own, and they wouldn't understand this line of thinking that she's trying to sell them on. You'll understand how much you don't want to take responsibility over your offspring in a public place when you have kids of your own. That seems like sound logic to me. Too Old for This Spit wrote, "I'm a nanny who takes the kids, 8 and 4, out frequently. We encountered a similar situation on a playground once. A little boy about 2 was playing across the top of one of the slides and would not move for any of the half dozen or so other kids who wanted to use the equipment. An older child asked his mother if she could move him, and she said, 'He's just a little boy, he doesn't know any better.' The 8-year-old I watched said, loudly enough for everyone around him to hear, 'Well, how is he supposed to know any better if she won't tell him?' The mom moved her kid. Yeah, Miss 8 can be mouthy, but I couldn't really reprimand her, could I? Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy crazy stories of entitled parents, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is, it's called a gym, not a playground. 2 weeks ago, I go to the gym in my apartment complex at 10:30 a.m. to run 2 miles as part of my morning routine. One day, this father and toddler walk into the gym as I'm beginning my run. I thought that father was going to work out and hand his child his phone or something to entertain themselves. Yeah, that didn't happen. As soon as I turn my back to the pair, I hear all of the exercise balls bounce to the ground, and a child's gleeful, yet ear-splittingly loud and rage-inducing screech. I turned around again to find that the father had knocked the exercise balls off of the shelves, given the kid 2 tube-like objects to hit the balls around with, and had sat down on a bench and talked on the phone. Then, before I can fully turn back around to try to ignore this situation and finish my run, a big exercise ball hits my head and then knocks my custom-made, made by a close friend of mine who I don't get to see anymore, water bottle off of the treadmill, shattering the outer plastic casing, the glitter spilling everywhere, and my water? All gone. All over the floor. I silently stopped the treadmill, grabbed my shattered water bottle, and started to exit the gym, my cheeks burning red. Then, another ball hits me behind my knees and causes me to almost fall. I kept walking, straight to the leasing office. My apartment complex manager listened to my story and walked me halfway back to the gym before turning to me and saying, "I'll handle this idiot, but I'll give you a minute to leave the area before I do." I thanked her and apologized for having to bother her with it. She was having none of it, hence why I like her a lot. I thought that would be the end of it. Nope. 2 weeks ago, my boyfriend and I were both at the gym at around 5 p.m. for an evening stress release to run. We begin, and halfway through our first mile, that same toddler and his mother come in, and she does the same exact thing as her husband. I repeat everything that I did before while telling my boyfriend that I'd be right back. The manager saw me walk in my workout clothes and instantly asked me, "Again?" I nod and explain that it's the mother with the child this time. She goes to the gym while I wait in the leasing office lobby, looking at cookie options. They feed us here. 2 minutes later, she's back to tell me that she witnessed an entitled and incompetent parent coax their child out of the gym. I thanked her and tried to apologize again, but she again was having none of it. If it happens again, they get their third strike. I asked, and we all know what the third strike is when you rent an apartment. The gym is not a playground for crotch goblins, especially considering this is an apartment complex gym. I'm assuming it's not especially very spacious, so hitting these exercise balls around might honestly be dangerous to the people who, oh god, they've got their AirPods in, they can't hear the ball flying towards their back. Our next story is, I can't forgive my dad. My sister and I went to the cinemas with our friend and we brought snacks to share. I bought candy and chocolate biscuits. When we got home, she hogged the chips she bought and also took the chocolate biscuits that I bought. I was so tired that I just went to sleep and told her not to finish the biscuits. The next day, I grabbed the chocolate from her and put it on my bed because it was mine. She snatched it back from me while I was gone, so I came and took it back. She chased me out and made a whole fuss, screaming and everything. My dad came and asked who the chocolate was for, and I said it was mine and that I bought it. She kept going, so my dad grabbed me and I was yelling. He held me down and told her to grab it. I fought out and was about to give her some when she said something to upset me. I was like, freak you, I ain't giving you any. Then she hit me and we started fighting. I got extremely mad because my dad was holding me while she was hitting me. I was getting hit by both her and him. Then she went to get a knife and I ran and jumped on her. My dad separated us and was so mad. He grabbed me and I was sitting on the couch when he just started hitting me so hard, punching and kicking me, yelling and going absolutely mental. He wasn't himself. He usually hits, but never this bad. He was acting like I was a grown man his size. He left the house and came back, then ran at me trying to hit me again. I begged him to leave and he just smashed up my chocolate. I was in so much pain and went outside having a panic attack. I called my mom and told her everything. She said I should have given the chocolate and that he was obviously wrong. She told me to go to her room and lock myself in. A couple of hours passed and he came back, buying me new chocolate as an apology, but I chucked it. He also sent me $20, but I sent it back. A week went by and I ignored him. He was mad at me and tried to make me feel guilty. Today, he apologized because my mom forced him to and he's giving me $150. I told him I forgave him and he said sorry, hugged me and all. But I just can't feel myself forgiving him. The way he hit me, like I wasn't his daughter. It was like he was fighting me. My jaw hurt so bad that I have to chew slowly, and the way he kicked me while I was crying and begging him to stop. He kept hitting me with so much force. It wasn't even my fault. He didn't hit my sister. He was so nice to her. He gave her money but was crap talking me out loud the whole week, putting all my siblings against me. He would cuss me out and say a whole bunch of rude things when I walked past, literally bullying me. I feel bad because I know he feels guilty and I'm taking his money, but I just feel so angry. The fact that my family jokes about it as if it wasn't so traumatizing. I thought he was going to end me because he has crazy anger issues and can't control himself. He takes meds for it and even said himself that he couldn't control himself. But it fills me with rage how he could do that to me and then be like, if you act up, that's going to happen to you next, to my siblings. I know he's my father and has done everything for me and has sacrificed a lot for me and my siblings, but I just can't forgive him. By the way, I turned 16 and I'm a girl, and my sister is 17 turning 18, and my dad is big and super strong and taller than me, and he's fat and strong. I don't understand how OP's other parent can understand that OP is being mistreated so and not actually get anything done, not actually do anything. Talking to them, getting them to apologize and buy OP chocolates after all that they did, that's not a resolution to the problem. Handcuffs should be the resolution. No Ostrich 691 wrote, take pictures, gather any evidence of the damage you took. Call Child Protective Services. If you love your dad too much to report him, no you don't. If you're too scared to report him, take the $150 and buy cameras. Nothing super high-tech or fancy, something you can hide. Trigger him, get hard evidence, and then report him. Don't let him get away because you think you only have a few years left to deal with him. Your sister grabbed a knife and your father proceeded to hurt you over chocolate. This is not a normal or safe environment for anyone of any age. Your mother is not a safe space either. If you know an adult that you trust, such as a teacher, try to relay what's going on to them. At the very least, if CPS won't do anything, destroy him socially. Make sure everyone knows he's an abusive piece of crap. Post your injuries, post your videos. Your life is literally in danger as long as you're around your father and your sister. It's terrifying and scary, especially to deal with as a teenager, but you have to do something about it before it's too late. Our next story is My Entitled Aunt and Her Journey to Ruin, Chapter 1, a not-so-brief intro. Therapists suggested writing down my frustrations, so I thought Reddit. Some background: I'm from Canada and my dad's currently in the States. My dad acts like a tough guy, but he's actually a huge softie, especially when it comes to his family. He's the eldest of 4 siblings, 2 brothers and 1 sister. Youngest sibling equals my aunt, equals entitled parent, equals the witch. After his parents passed away, my dad took care of his siblings and he pampered my aunt. She's 15 years younger than him. Now, my dad believes in tough love, so he always made me earn my keep. So while we had money, I was quite prudent with my spending, and this came to show when I got my first car. I was 16. Instead of buying a used car, I got my hands on a blown 240SX and rebuilt it from the ground up. My dad and I were gearheads, so growing up working on anything with a motor was our version of playing catch. Now, this is something of a hobby or a business for me. I buy old cars, fix them up and flip them. I also fix and modify cars for friends and family, and it puts me through school. Now on to the story. This took place a few years ago. I just finished my engineering degree and was focusing on my business, and so recently I started buying high-end salvage cars and classic cars and fixing them up. Since I hadn't seen my dad for a while, I thought I'll go stay with him for a while growing my business in the States as well. A few months later, everything was going great. Made a lot of friends, met a girl, my current girlfriend, there's also a story there if you guys are interested, and became BFFs with my dad's neighbor, an old Marine who claims to have killed more guys with his pinky than years I have lived. Anyway, this guy was huge, made The Rock look tiny. My perspective, and he had this heavily modified Jeep which we called the Black Beast. The Black Beast dwarfed cars. It even made my dad's Raptor look like a toy. So while I was with my dad, I had quite a few project cars at his house. An RS7, M5, a 2015 Challenger, and my 240SX. A few years back, my cousins had made a WhatsApp group for our family, and my dad's newest hobby was to take pictures of us in funny poses in these cars and posting them in the group. My aunt was not in the group. My dad's birthday was fast approaching and he was turning 60, so we wanted to do something special and everyone planned to fly in and celebrate together. My aunt asked me if I could book her tickets so she and her 2 children could fly in earlier. At this point, I was assuming she just needed help reserving tickets because she wasn't that great with a computer, not to mention her son is 17, but oh well. I reserve her tickets and tell her the amount, and all of a sudden she's like, "I can't fly economy." I reply, "What do you want me to do?" She says, "Bump me up to first class." I say, "Okay, but that's like $10,000 per person. Are you sure you want to pay that much?" She says, "Aren't you paying for the tickets?" I reply, "Da freak? You want me to pay for your first class tickets to come to your brother's birthday?" She says, "If you're not buying my tickets, I'm not coming." I knew she meant that, and her being there would mean a lot to my dad, so eventually I negotiated with her and got her to downgrade to business class. Yes, I negotiated with an entitled parent and slightly won, but still cost me a crap ton of money. Fast forward a few days, I go to pick her up in my dad's Raptor, and lo and behold, she comes out looking like Cruella de Vil minus the black and white hair. She gives me the nastiest look and asks me, "What the freak is that?" pointing to the Raptor. I replied, a truck?" She says, "I know it's a truck, you idiot, but why are you picking me up in that trash can? You should have at least gotten a limo." I had a brain fart at this point. I pay for her tickets, I take time out of my schedule to come pick her up, and she still has the gall to complain, on top of calling a $75,000 vehicle a trash can. I suck it up thinking it's all for my dad, drive the witch home, and try to avoid her until the birthday. So of the entitled parents' children, the older boy, entitled kid, is, well, a typical entitled kid, but the younger girl, nice girl, through some God-given miracle, is normal and the only one from her family on our group chat. So she knew about my cars and business, plus she was a bit of a grease monkey herself. The next day I'm working on my 240SX, an entitled kid comes up to me saying, "Yo, that your car?" I say, "Yeah, it's a beauty, ain't it?" They reply, "Looks like crap. Why drive crap like this?" talk crap to me, talk crap about me, I don't care. But don't disrespect my car. Obviously, I don't say this, so ignore him. They reply, yo, let me take it out for a drive. I reply, nope. They say, what, man? Don't be such a witch. As if on cue, Entitled Parent chimes in, what's going on? Entitled Kid tells her, OP is being a jerk. He won't let me drive his car. She says, OP, why don't you share with your cousins? You know sharing is caring. Sharing is caring. Whoever made that up can go to heck. I tell them, sorry, but he won't be able to drive it. It's a manual. The cars you have are all automatic. She says, if you can drive it, so can he. Plus, my boy's a fast learner. I said, sorry, can't risk my car on how fast your son can learn. Entitled Parent calls my dad out, tells him a bunch of bull about how I'm being rude to her and how I'm bullying her boy and how great of a driver he is and that my dad should let her son drive my car. My dad looks at me and nods. I sigh in defeat and hand over the keys to Entitled Kid. Entitled Kid starts the car successfully, and then my nightmare started. He tried shifting gears without pushing in the clutch all the way and stalls the car. Without shifting back into neutral, he started the car again. Boom, crunch. My heart breaks as the fiberglass body smashes against the steel pillar of our gate. Entitled Kid gets out of the car, looks at me and goes, oops, my bad, your car is crappier than I thought. Entitled Kid proceeds to go back inside the house, followed by his mother. My dad comes to me and apologizes, and he says he'll foot the bills for the repair. I'm still standing there frozen. I'm sleepy, so I'll stop here. I apologize if the script is bad, but it's kinda how I remember it. If people want to hear the rest, well, I guess I'll have to post the rest. Honestly, I think these are just repetitive life lessons for OP to learn. You gotta enforce those boundaries, even if it means upsetting the old man a bit because they just don't understand or respect your boundaries enough. And especially you don't have to worry about enforcing your boundaries and upsetting Aunt Cruella de Vil. This next story is entitled Mom Hates Me. So, for some context, I, 24-year-old male, moved in an apartment complex a couple of months ago. There are 4 in total apartments in the building, mine and my immediate neighbor who lives right across from me. As far as I know, it's a mother and her son, and we live on the bottom floor. Though there are a couple of stairs up to where we live, there are no apartments under us. Above us, however, there are 2 more apartments, an older gentleman and a mother and her son and daughter. The building also locks after 4 p.m., meaning you can't get into the apartment without a key. Now, this woman has had an issue with me since I moved in. Though, frankly, I never knew why. She's just always thrown glares my way whenever we pass by in the stairs. Our first interaction happened about a month of me moving in. I stepped out of my apartment to walk my dog, Lilo. Now, Lilo is a small, neurotic chihuahua. She's not aggressive or mean like the chihuahuas you see in memes, but she's a very nervous and jumpy dog all the same. So as I step out of my apartment with Lilo, the mom and her kid come down the stairs at the same time. They spot Lilo, and without really saying hello to me or greeting me or anything, they instantly dove down on her and started petting her and talked between each other about how cute she is. Lilo was very nervous and confused at these 2 strangers suddenly cooing on her. I didn't dare say anything because I have really bad social anxiety. Then they just left, again, without saying anything to me. I don't have any more interactions with her until a few more months later, when I hear a ring at my door. My dog starts freaking out and barking, and I go check the door, but there's no one there. What I do hear, though, is giggling as 2 kids dash upstairs. I don't care too much about it and instead go back to my computer. Couple of minutes more, it happens again. Then again. After the 3rd time, I decide to go upstairs. By this point, it's far past 4 p.m. and again, I hear them dash upstairs every single time. So I know for a fact that it's the kids that live above me, and I'm frankly getting overstimulated and upset by this. So I knock at the door and the daughter answers. I tell them as politely as possible that I know it's them running down to ring at my doorbell, and I beg them to stop because my dog will only get more anxious. She tells me that they haven't done anything, and I don't want to press it, so I just tell them to not do it again before I go downstairs. The next day, the same thing happens. 2 rings before I decide enough is enough. I look up the mother, and I send her a polite but lengthy text about how I know her kids are ding-dong dashing me, and both me and my dog get anxious because of it. She doesn't reply, and instead comes to knock at my door a few hours later when she gets home from work. Now, you know when you can just tell a parent is entitled? You look at them and instantly see the tight lips and the posture, and you already know you're about to get an ear lashing. Yeah, that's what I see when I open the door, and I instantly tighten up. Another thing you should know about me is that I'm terrible and horrified of confrontations. Part of the social anxiety, I suppose, so I'm already pretty much shaking in my boots. This woman starts by telling me that she heard that I spoke with her children in this very accusatory, harsh tone. I reply, explaining why and what I told them. She gets snarky immediately and tells me that those weren't her kids. I explained to her that I heard them dashing upstairs and that the doors were locked, so I know for a fact that it was them. She continues to tell me that her children would never do that, only to go back on her words later and say that she's had a conversation with them about just this and told them not to do it again, which clearly means they have a history of this exact thing. I just tell her again that I know it's them, and all I wanted was for her to talk to her kids about this issue because it's really bothering me. She gets angry and tells me that it wasn't them and that her children are perfect and kind, and also when I texted her, her one kid was in the shower, so it couldn't possibly be them, like she doesn't have two kids and it didn't happen the day before either. At this point, my anxiety is through the roof and I feel like I'm about to have a panic attack, so I just tell her fine. I know it was them, but I'm not going to argue. And so she scowls at me and stomps up the stairs. The ding-dong dashing hasn't happened since, but her glares and attitude have gotten 100 times worse. She will look at me like I shot her dang dog every time she so much as sees me. Honestly, I would say it's for the best at this point that your relationship is like that, because you know what? She's likely going to want to try to avoid you. She's likely going to want to try to avoid your chihuahua. If anything, I would say shoot some nasty glares back at her, put on your grumpy face too. That way they'll be even more incentivized to just leave you and your dog alone. EMR 830 wrote, LOL, it's a building with a handful of units. Did you really think you were stupid enough to fall for, they're not my kids? Even if you were, why then say you had a conversation with them? Yet another delusional mommy thinks that her precious crotch goblins are perfect and beautiful and not at all spoiled brats. No way! After all, they came from her, so obviously they're the best things ever. They won't get far in life if she keeps that crap up. Is she going to whine to their teachers when they don't get perfect grades? If they even make it to college, she'll get a rude awakening from the professors if she tries that crap. Our next story is, I don't want to accept my father anymore. Recently, I had a fallout with my dad that led to me staying by my grandparents. In short, he became drunk and started to confront me when I said that I don't want to listen to his music. He listened to it so loud that I could hear it clearly in my room, which is 2 rooms further away from where he's listening, and yes, my door is closed. In general, it's also thanks to his music that I don't like Vietnamese and refuse to learn it. Both of my parents are Vietnamese. In the past, he's had this dang bass near the wall to our neighbor. Therefore, whenever he started to listen to his music, our neighbor started to bang on our door. Sadly, I'm the only one that could hear it as my sister is too nearby the music, and my mother doesn't hear that well, so I'm mostly the one who opened it and received our angry neighbor. My mother and my sister don't like the music as well. I don't particularly blame my neighbor, as I understand that he's rightfully frustrated over it, but the situation didn't improve when my father adamantly refused to confront him. I mostly had to pull him over, and it ended that he just screamed at our neighbor and slammed the door, and then it repeated until we could tell him to stop hearing his music. This occurred in the past many times. I'm also the one who has to confront our neighbor most of the time, until my father accepted that we moved his places somewhere else. But that was more than enough to make me hate Vietnamese music to the point that my mood hit rock bottom when I hear it. I tried to let him listen to it a bit, but it only soured my mood more, and he never held on his promise to shut it after his proclaimed last song. One of the following will occur when he said that he will only listen to his last song. He'll continue to listen and ignores his promise. He will restart the video in the hopes that we're too stupid to recognize it. He says he can't stop it as YouTube continues with autoplay. I know that it isn't nice to forbid him of doing something, but if he can't learn to control himself, I have to do it. In his life, he only cared for himself and never questioned if his family is happy or not, and that only leads to me, my sister, and my mother suffering under it. For example, we were on vacation in Vietnam and we were on inflatables that were currently towed by a motorboat at high speed. As it was connected wrongly on the boat, the inflatable will tilt by every turn the boat makes. As we fall into the sea, we all have life vests on, so it shouldn't have been a problem there. There was also a wooden island near us. I fell on my chest and had trouble breathing as I floated. My father was in panic as he wasn't a good swimmer and pressed me down to try to rescue himself. I actually don't know what I should say to that. We both had life vests on, and how could you press down your own son to rescue yourself? This is one of the more severe stories, but there are many others. He isn't better with his family, like with my grandmother, his mother. There was a time where he was addicted to her sleep medication, and she wanted to go to the ER even though she had nothing. It is way better now. My relatives didn't want to risk it and brought her there. Okay, to be more accurate, I brought her there as most of my relatives didn't live near her or are busy with anything else. They mostly called me and asked if I could bring her there, and I'm fine with it as I have time, and if it's an emergency, I'm more than willing to help. But one time while I was at home, my father joked about the fact that I'll probably bring my grandmother to the ER while he doesn't have to do anything and doesn't need to care. Small reminder that this is still his mother. He also said that while I was in the same room. I started to question my kindness to others after this, but decided to stick to it at the end. When he's retired, he also expects me to take care of him, like paying him. Yeah, he can completely forget that. The only thing I'll pay is the money he's given me while raising me. Afterward, I'll break contact with him. I know that probably most of the people here say that I don't have to pay him, but I see it in another way. As I don't accept him as my father, I see it in a way that I borrowed his money and just paid him back after I got a job. I'm currently studying engineering to end our relationship. I will probably stay in contact with my relative, father's side, as I have a good relationship with them, but I will not fold when they ask me to reconsider my decision about my father. My mother will also probably break contact with him as she only stays with him because of us, me and my sister, and when the time comes, I'll help her. My mother is probably the one who formed me as who I am today, and I'm really thankful for her support and her teachings. This is way longer than I thought it would be. It feels a bit refreshing to let it all out at once, as I haven't told much of this to my friends, as I don't want to burden them. I am a bit selfless. What do you guys think about my story and if I'm justified in refusing my father? I can't promise that I'll respond to anyone here, as I am a relatively shy person and sometimes don't know what to say, so thanks for reading this until now, and I wish you a nice day. So first of all, I just want to address OP talking about how they both had life vests on, but he was panicking in the water. That's actually kind of the reason why they say if somebody is drowning, unless you're a trained professional, don't just blindly jump in trying to rescue them, because they will almost certainly drag you down out of instinct trying to keep themselves above water and breathing, even though he should have clearly have relaxed and relied on the life vest. That said, I don't think OP's in the wrong for making that decision about their father. I actually have a great deal of respect for them saying, I'm gonna pay them back and then I'm gonna go my own way. Somebody who's mistreated you, never listened to you, proved and blatantly admitted to your face that they're happy you can do all the things for them while they just kick their feet up. I don't blame anybody for not wanting a relationship with that person, father or not. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy entitled parent story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.